everybody, and welcome to the Local Service Podcast. And today I have Miguel Cruz from Grayscale Barbershop. I've known Miguel not very long, honestly. How did we meet?
Through my cousin. Shout out to Jessica.
That's right. So it's funny because I've known Jess for maybe like 8 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's funny how you get, I mean, I'm pretty sure this happens to you in your business, but like, it's funny how you'll just get a text or a call of someone you once knew who knows somebody who needs your services or something like that. And yeah, so she reached out. She told me like, hey, can you help out with this? So yeah, so we've been working together now for like 6 months, 5 months, 7 months, something like that.
Yeah, I think since like I want to say it was July when I may have reached out to you, or
Okay,
June, maybe
it's
something
been
like.
slightly longer.
Yeah, may
so
or yeah, somewhere around there.
so as you guys know, this podcast is just to talk about local businesses, how they got started, how they grew it, the ups and downs. And what's really cool is that I don't really know. I think you're the only barbershop person I know that runs and owns a barbershop.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, give us the general take. How long you've been doing it? When did you get started? How it's going? And we'll just jump from there.
Uh, so I guess I can just kind of start where I started. And this probably goes back to like when I was younger. I think everybody kind of has a similar kind of story if they kind of jump into this. Well, from what I've kind of seen, but my mom used to cut our hair back when we were younger, just to kind of save money. I have four brothers and one sister, so six of us now. Back then, there was probably like four of us when we were younger.
Yeah.
So it was two of my siblings that I would cut their hair. Well, actually, one day it was just me kind of messing around, and I just for fun I wanted to do it. I wanted to try it
How
out.
old were you? Think?
I was probably like 11 or 12, man. Yeah, like young. So it's like nothing to do. You're home and you're gonna get into stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I asked her if she let me butchered the cuts, like butchered my brother's cuts, both of them. And something about it though, like it just I kind of gravitated towards it. I liked it. I was like, all right, yeah, you know what? Or I don't know if it was just because I like to just kind of be good at stuff. So I was like, you know what? I didn't do it right that time, but next time I'm gonna get it.
Let it grow back.
Yeah, let it grow back. We're gonna try it
Next
again.
month, I got it.
So it was kind of like ongoing like that, man. It just
Yeah.
kind of went like that. I'd have to beg them to let me cut their hair, with the white chair, like the plastic chair, the trash bag, and so
Oh
they
yeah.
hated it. But I'm like, I'm over here just.
And you guys already had the machines and stuff.
Yeah, my mom had like some clippers, like some Walmart clippers, but back then, like I didn't know that there was like specific, you got your trimmers, you got your fading clippers, blah blah blah. So there's different there's different tools that the techniques and that you use, and so I just I only had like one pair of Walmart clippers, and so I would literally use the I'd see like the kids at school like the edge ups, and I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I'm trying to recreate it with the damn clipper, and it's like, it's not. Why is it not coming out like
Yeah.
that? But anyway, that's kind of how I got. Eventually, like with repetition,
Yeah.
learning curve gets better, and you start kind of
Were
grasping
you
it.
only doing? You said you had a sister.
Yeah, I was actually. It's funny, man. She one day she took the clippers when she was little, and she started cutting her own hair too. So there's like pictures of her back in the day where she's got like this little boy cut.
Okay.
But yeah, man, I haven't really ever really cut women's hair too much.
Okay, so you stuck to your brothers at that time.
Yeah, so I just did that, and then it's probably I got pretty good at it to the point where like through like I think once I started getting better it was like seventh, eighth grade. Just decent where I wasn't messing them up.
Hmm.
Like I can get it. I wouldn't push them back. Like I remember like one time I gave my brother like staircases, like trying to make a edge up, and it was like I didn't know like how
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
how it was supposed to be, so I was like, oh yeah, let me
So
just.
how would you take that, by the way? Like knowing that you messed up, what would you like? Would you feel like, ah, damn, oh well, or were you like how did that affect you?
It was no, it was just like, all right, I got you, bro. Like it was more like it was just fun,
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
wasn't. I don't think I really cared too much. I mean, I would even mess myself up, man. Like I'd be pushing my edge up back.
Gotcha.
Anyway, yeah, just I kind of did that up until like I want to say the 10th grade is when I finally got. I was just always cutting them up, and
This is still your brothers and sisters.
yeah, my brothers
Okay,
and
okay.
yeah, my brothers,
Or
and
your
so
brothers, rather.
excuse me, and yeah, to the point where um I kind of wanted to because I would see like all the kids in school, man, they always had like nice taper fades. I think
Yeah.
that was like the thing back then, like getting a
Yeah.
taper fade and edge up. And so,
When is back then?
man, this was like 2003,
Okay.
2004,
So
5.
back.
Yeah,
That's
back,
back then.
yeah, way back then, man. So, so yeah, man, I just kind of wanted. I always thought that looked cool. Like I always kind of like looked out for my like my hair, man. I always wanted to have like nice hair,
Uh-huh.
like a nice fade, and because it would like kind of give me a boost of confidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of why I liked it. And so, yeah, man. And I
So
think
when was the moment you were like, okay, I can do this for money? At what point did that happen?
so. This is leading up to that. One of my best friends in high school, his name's Lalo. He was always over when we moved from. We used to live in like North Shore, Cloverleaf area, and we moved to Katy. And so out there, like there was, new area, no barbers. I'm kind of getting to know everything. And but yeah, I started hanging out with my friend Lalo a lot, and he would come over to the house a lot. One day, he just happened to be over, and it was one of the days I was cutting my brothers up.
Mm.
He's like, "Oh snap, like you cut hair?" Like I was like, "Yeah, for my brothers, just kind of for fun."
Yeah.
I didn't think anything of it. And he's like, "Yeah, what if you fade me up?" And I go to this barber, blah blah blah. But like you look like you know what you're doing, like. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's try it. And yeah, man, I still have pictures of that. But yeah, it came out pretty decent. I mean, it wasn't like the best,
Yeah.
right? But you know what kind of made it pop off was I did these little designs on it,
Oh, you did?
right? And so, and it wasn't like anything major. It wasn't anything crazy or detailed. But yeah, he went to school with the cut, and then that was like kind of like the wildfire. Like it just kind of he came probably back a few days later. He's like, hey, bro, like people are asking me, where I got my haircut and who I did my design. Like, people in his classmates.
Yeah.
It might have been like 2 or 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, all right, well, then they're hitting me up, and then
So how are they hitting you up?
through text. He's like, oh, can you give him I was like, sure, just give him my number. And so kind of slowly, like, it was just like an ongoing thing, man. Like I'm in my garage. I'm not charging either at this point.
Okay.
I'm doing it for free.
Yeah. Which is probably best, right? Like,
Yeah, like I'm.
Even if you were gonna charge at the time, like, what would you charge? Who would have known? But
Yeah.
I think that naturally came out.
Yeah, so it was just like I was just kind of going with the flow, and like I said, man, in high school, like you don't have anything else to do, like you're literally just looking for trouble, right? So it's just I had the homies pull up to the garage, and
What'd
we
your
just
mom think?
nothing, man. She never really like she never really.
She was like worried.
No, she never. She's just like, oh, okay, like they're just in the garage, like cutting hair, like.
Yeah.
I guess
only
there's
thing, a lot more worse things that.
Yeah.
Could have been doing.
Yeah. So the only thing she would get on my ass about was like sweeping, like
Okay.
my ass would just leave hair everywhere, and But that was it. Like she would just tell me to clean up. But yeah, like, she never really like knew what I was doing or like like in that sense. Like, I didn't even know. You know what I mean? It was just we're just going with the flow at the time and living life. But anyway, yeah, those haircuts started kind of multiplying. Because I obviously with repetition and practice, you just start getting a little better and better and better. And so yeah, it eventually like man, I think people. I remember when my buddies was like, yeah, bro. He's like, I heard they started calling you like taper fade Miguel, because that's what that was the thing was like taper fades. Like that's what I would mainly do. And so I was like, what the hell,
So they put a nickname on it.
They put a nickname on me, and I was like, okay, cool.
Good thing it was taper fade.
Taper fade.
Right. Butchered it up.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, cool. Like, so but I'm still not thinking anything of it. I'm just, like I said. So at this point, I'm charging probably like $5, right? And with the design and everything. And I had a buddy that would come. He would do his whole head, bro. Like, I met him in the school too, and yeah, he would come over to the house. He lived in my neighborhood, and he knew a lot of people too. So so he was kind of like a walking billboard. Like you see somebody with like nice Caesar and then a bunch of designs in his head. Like they're gonna ask,
Where'd you get
yeah,
that
where'd you
from?
get
Yeah.
that? So. So it just kind of kept kind of growing like that, man. And but I, at this time I was working still too. I started working when I was like 15.
Okay. What were you doing?
I was a busboy, so I was cleaning
Restaurant?
tables. Yeah, restaurant.
Right. That's the only place you could do that.
Yeah, they,
Gotcha.
they got me in. My mom used to work there. She was a cook, so she hooked me up. Like she
Gotcha.
got me that job there. And yeah, man. Ever since then, I've been working. So I would work. I would go. I would go to school. I would go to work, and then I would do that. So I've always just kind of been active. Like I don't like to sit still, man.
Yeah, that's good.
And so yeah, I got actually one day I showed up to that job. It's kind of funny. They had closed for business. I went to work on a Sunday morning, and there was a sign on the door that said "Let's go fishing." I was like,
They
damn.
went under?
Yeah, they went under, and
Oh,
they didn't tell
no.
anybody. So I was like, fuck. So I had like my little cell phone bill I had to pay for. So I was like, let me go look for another job. I
Yeah.
got one at McDonald's, and yeah, it was just a bunch of little odd jobs. But never did I ever like think to
Like go full time.
go full time with it
You're
or
still fairly young, I think.
yeah, like my mind wasn't. I was man. It was just
Yeah.
more on like just trying to get into trouble talking to girls and just dumb stuff, man.
Right.
So I just but if looking back, if I would have probably had a better maybe like a mentor or maybe
Yeah.
somebody like to be like, yo, hey man, like do this, do that, blah blah blah. Which is actually what I did for my little brother. Shout out to him, man. He's
Nice.
Chris. He started cutting. I think like around 11 years old. He came to the barbershop. I don't know. He just kind of. I didn't make him do it. He just kind of was like, "Oh yeah, I want to try it." And he
Yeah.
showed up to the shop one day with his little clippers with me. I took him to the shop, and then he was just
Damn,
I wanna-
11?
yeah.
Like, when you think of an 11-year-old, they're like this big.
dude. He's 6. He just turned 16. He just bought his own little truck with
Oh,
cutting hair in the garage. Like I kind of gave him the blueprint. I was like, "Look, bro, like he's over here trying to work at Chick-fil-A," and I'm like, "Look, man, like it's cool, but if you're
Yeah.
if you have a talent, you have a network, you don't even have to like really leave the house to make money. Like if you
Yeah.
do this, and this, like, you'll be fine." And so he a little hard headed, but finally he listened, and then so now he's been like full time after school. He has like a little square appointment thing, and all his
Nice.
buddies on there. Like it's all systemized, right? Like I saw,
Yeah.
so now he cuts from this time to this time on these days, and he's just marketing himself on Instagram. His thing is designs too. It's kind of funny. So like you go on his page, Cruz Fades, and then it's like nothing but designs, and so it's like his niche,
Yeah.
and that's what sets him apart
Yeah.
from like everybody else.
Yeah. I mean,
So
that helps. Like, just hearing, like, you should try this way. This is what I learned from doing it for who knows how long you've been doing it for. So that helps tremendously.
yeah, man, I was like, dude, you got social media, like it's free. Instagram is free. You have a phone, take pictures and market yourself. And make yourself available. It's pretty simple. Like that way, hey, like you don't have
So
to.
these are two separate things. Like, he doesn't work at your shop.
No.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, he's
So he's carrying his own weight.
he's carrying his own weight. He actually is like using my old chair, my own little stick. Like he just kind of took
Yeah.
over the.
That's awesome. That's
That-
like
that-
the best Big Brother move you can make.
So it was cool. Like so now like I'm real happy because now like he's the baby. He's the youngest of all of
Yeah.
us, and I'm like, all right, cool. Everybody's kind of like now doing their own thing. He's
Yeah.
kind of the last one, so he's self-sufficient. He doesn't.
Damn,
Yeah, he just.
16? Not bad.
Yeah, he's 16. He got his own little like Silverado truck. Man, he's doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's cool. That's the thing about this industry is like I like it because I tell people like, man, with scissor and combs, like, dude,
Nuts, right?
yeah, you can do anything. Like you don't really have to worry about.
Yeah. Like that. People grow hair.
Yeah.
And people don't want to grow it.
Yeah,
So
so-
someone needs to be there to cut it. So
Exactly. So
it's not quite, what do they say? Death and taxes, the certain thing.
you can't escape. Yep.
But the hair thing is pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
It's pretty much there all the time.
Yep.
Cool. So you got a bunch of reps in. You're starting to cut hair. You said you still haven't really thought about doing full time. So like, when did that happen?
I had this barber when I started.
Were you getting your own haircut?
I would.
Or
Everybody
would you
was.
get your own haircut, or you would go get a haircut?
I would go get a haircut, but I didn't like the haircuts I was getting until finally, like, I did go to this barber. This barber, it's cool, bro. Like, what's really cool is like I remember all of my barbers.
Yeah.
Like I really do by name and everything, like, cause they were very impactful to me. Like in the sense that like I would, this barber's name was Trey. I would tell him like, hey, I would watch his clippers. I would ask him questions, and I would pick his brain. I'm like, hey, what clippers do you use? Hey, what, da da da. And now I would pay attention to how he cut my hair, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing wrong. This is what and I'm just paying attention, and he would and I would show him my cuts, man, and he's like, go to school, Miguel. Go to school, Miguel. Every time I would see him, like, go to barber school.
Okay.
He's like, go get your license. And I'm like, yeah, da, da, da. Like,
so what was holding you back for doing it?
What's holding me back was like, it was probably school, and then I was working a lot. So I mean, honestly, that's a good question. It's probably just me myself, It wasn't until like the moment that I was 22 or 23, and it was a situation, man, where it's personal stuff.
Yeah.
But I was kind of, I'm graduated high school. I'm going to college, Lone Star. I'm trying to figure out my path. Like, I'm trying to take that prestigious path, like, doctor, lawyer, whatever. Actually, when I was little, I wanted to be like an attorney, and I wanted to be an architect. And but once I got a little bit older, you just life
right.
happens, and so like obviously you grow and your mindset changes. I just I kind of got into a position where I had no choice. Like I was working full time, and then I was coming home. I was cutting hair, or I would work full time. I would go to Lone Star, and then I would still come home and I would cut hair. I would do all these things and then still try to keep like a social life. But back then you can do it, So it got to the point though where I got burned out. I was like, damn, man, like something's got to give. Like, so I actually stopped cutting hair maybe like at 21, 22. And I told myself, hey guys, like, you know what, like the haircut thing was cool, but now I gotta, things, are happening a little serious around here. So I got to figure out a way to make an income, like sustainable income for me to be able to pay for like a mortgage and, myself and, blah, 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 like life, right? You got to make money.
Part of life. Step one, need some income, right?
Yeah, I need some income, man. So cut everybody off. I was like, I'm done cutting hair.
How many people do you do that with?
I don't know, but I remember like the coolest day was whenever it was prom, and I had the garage full. Like I didn't expect to cut all Saturday. So that was really cool. I was like, damn, man, like I'm really doing this. You know what I mean? Like I'm really like popping like that. Like it's cool. And what's crazy is back then, like it was easier. I don't know, maybe I wouldn't say it was easier, but there wasn't many people doing the barber thing, especially not out of the garage. Like you see now, like it's like wildfire. Like everybody's doing it. But yeah, back then it was I'll probably say like me and like through word of mouth, like I knew it was a kid like at Morton Ranch. I think it was pretty sure it was Fabo Cuts, and then this other guy's name's on Instagram, my boy Black. So those were like literally the only two people in Katy that I knew that were doing it back then. Like I said, man, just through word of mouth, because you like get somebody's client and like.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, I used to go to my boy Fabo or my boy Black. Da, da, da. So it's just kind of funny like that. So you kind of that's how I knew like there wasn't that many people. Especially I think in the school I was at, I was like the only one. And yeah, I never really like had the big vision or the big picture. Like I didn't think it would be what it is today. So yeah, I was just kind of doing what I liked.
Yeah, so 21, you mentioned you had to make a choice. You cut the people off.
Oh yeah, I cut the people off. Sorry.
Got you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I cut them off, and I'm doing this cool thing. I'm trying to pursue like a prestigious, like something. Because like I said, I guess it kind of goes back to like barbering wasn't like a serious thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's no like. I don't know what I'm looking for here, but like it's just not like a career, I guess, right? Like
like you didn't think of it as you thought more like it has to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Yeah, like something with a degree,
Who's what is it's not worth being
a barber, you know what I mean?
Not in the realm of where you're trying to go.
Yeah, and plus like people say like, oh man, maybe it's not a good career choice. Like you're gonna get opinions in your ears a lot,
Yeah.
and some of them might be like doubtful. Like, oh yeah, you know what? I probably wouldn't, do that career. Maybe
Right.
it's just not gonna sustain.
Like, how much could you possibly make?
Yeah, your quality of life might not be what you want it to be or whatever. Da da da. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So you kind of start kind of getting in your head. You're like,
Maybe
damn,
they're right.
yeah, maybe they're right. So you're like, fuck it, let me go back to, what I was doing, just school and work. And so, man, long story short, like probably 3 or 4 months in, a lot of like the kids that I would cut. Excuse me.
Yeah, these ghosts, man.
Yeah.
That's the problem with them.
Yeah, they started calling me or texting me, bro. I was like, hey man, I went to the barber. They effed me up. I went to, like, hey, you gotta start cutting again, bro. Like I'm not really feeling these cuts out here. And again, like to me, I'm just like my imposter syndrome. Like like
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like whatever. But then it just made me click. I'm like, man, you know what? Like, and it became like frequent. Like people were just like begging me, like, yo, can you cut my hair?
Literally begging.
Yeah, like
please come back.
Yeah, please come
Please
back.
cut my hair.
Come save the game.
Yeah.
And so, I was like, you know what? Like, screw it. You know what? That's when it clicked.
Yeah.
Because I was even at the dealership, and I would cut hair in the warehouse, like for my coworkers. Dude,
You
like
were working at a
everywhere. Yeah, like it was just a thing to me. Like it was just attached to me. Like.
So how would that work? Like you'd be there with a group of people, be like, y'all need haircuts.
Yeah, no, they like they were just real cool. They knew I cut hair. They I mean the work spoke for itself.
Yeah.
Like the buddies that I was real cool with, I would cut them,
Yeah.
and so it was just like a word of mouth thing. Like literally, that's all it was. And
Yeah,
so
I mean that's a huge sign. Anywhere you go, you end up doing some kind of service.
Yeah.
Where they keep asking for it. It's like, all right, there's something there.
There's something there, and so I was like. So yeah, like we clock, finish the shift from 8 to 4 p.m. and then, I'd bring my clippers with me, and in the garage, like I'd be, cutting all my coworkers, the techs, the parts guys.
Nice.
It was cool. They were real supportive. They would always show me like mad love.
Nice.
You know what I mean? They were real positive. They're like, yeah, you're the best barber. That kind of makes you feel like it kind of boosts your ego a little bit.
The other side, like people are telling you no,
Yeah.
and then there's the people that tell you yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I can.
So there's you're weighing and you're like, all right, cool. So anyway, at that point I was like, you know what? And really too, like the way it happened too, I was in this class. It was like I had worked like a 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. shift to be able to go to school all the way. So I was working at Stafford, and I would go to Lone Star and Katy, and then I was in that class. It was like one of my second class that night, and it was economics, or I can't remember. But the professor was talking about business. I think that's where I was kind of going towards. Like, I was kind of like, I think everybody does is like general business, like, where they just kind of like, they're like, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm gonna do business. And so, but it's really broad, right? I feel like now I've learned that you kind of have to like specialize, reverse engineer, and do it that way. So I'm in this class, and this professor is like, yeah, if you're in this class, like, for business, like, I would probably suggest that you quit now. He's like, and just go do it. Go. And he might have been like sarcastic about it, but I took that to heart. I'm like, dude, that's a sign.
That's
like, I was like, say less.
Yeah,
like,
you
don't gotta twist my arm. And so that was it. Like, I don't think I ever went back to that class, to be honest. Like,
that's amazing. Props to that guy.
And so I was like, it just clicked. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna like in my head, like it just, you have like an aha moment, light bulb goes off, and you're just like, boom, I'm gonna just, wing it. I'm good at it. I have the clientele already. People, and I would, what I would do was like, I would go to this barbershop, and I would wait for hours, right? Like one thing I didn't notice was like my barber, the way, because I always kind of like, I'll assess the situation, there's patterns, right? And so you're like, you start, I don't know, I'm an analytical, I'm observant, and I'm analytical, and so I'm like, man, this dude talks a lot. I'm sitting there in the barbershop for 2 or 3 hours. I got shit to do. And there's no appointments. And if there is appointments, they're not respected. So I'm like, dude, this is all terrible. And I'm giving this dude weekly, like, At the time, it was like $15, $17, right? Plus tip, you give them a full 20.
Yeah.
So I'm so 20, right? And so I'm like, and this dude takes maybe 45 to 50 minutes, an hour on each person, right? Sometimes more, just depending on the conversation in the day, right? And so I'm like, damn, like if this dude, and he was, I would pick his brain. I'm like, hey, bro, like, what, you own a house? He's like, oh,
take your sweet ass time here.
and so I'm like, yeah. He's like, he had a car, he had a house, and he had a family.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's able to make it, right? So
I see. You're seeing like, okay, if he can do it with all those responsibilities,
yeah,
I should be able to do it.
yeah. So I was kind of like, all right, yeah. So the math checks out, and but so I was like, let me be. And I remember, just trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, all right, well, if I do X amount of cuts at $20 a cut, let's say I can do them in 30 minutes, and I do $20 at 30 minutes. That's two haircuts in an hour. I'm making $40 an hour.
Yeah.
And that's really it. Like I just need to like do. I got calculated the days. Only thing I didn't know was like, the big thing that held me back was I didn't know that I'm like, I know people get haircuts on Saturdays. I would go get mine on a Tuesday because I like to be fresh for school, right? The whole week. And I'm like, but who the hell gets their haircut like on a Wednesday or a Thursday, like in the middle of the day, And that's the only thing that would kind of hold me back.
You mean like you thought there was not going to be any people
clientele, yeah.
Come that Wednesday.
Yeah, so that's so like like.
Oh, I see. You did the math, but you're like, okay, well, why would 10 people show up on Wednesday?
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the big things that kind of held me back. But you start just kind of asking questions, asking around. You kind of try to inform yourself because like there's really not much information also like readily available back then like there is now. Now everybody's like a guru and everybody's gonna a coach and so much, and that's the thing that I see now is like there's an abundance of information. There's so much like knowledge. Yeah, so it's like now it's too much. Now it's information overload. So there's an abundance of information out now versus back then. So back then I'm like Googling stuff. I'm like, how much does a barber make? And the Google answer tells you like 28,000. And I'm like, nah, that's not gonna work. So it was just like it was really just like the lack of but now that you're in the game, you're like, oh yeah, 28,000, that's right. You're like,
are you trying to keep people out?
Yeah. And so because I think back then it was just like a big cash business. It's changed now. I think the industry has changed now. It's just like if you're not taking credit card or digital payments, you're missing out. So it's definitely changed. I'm pretty sure that number might be different now. And so yeah, man, I was just like, yeah, you know what, like I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna just wing it. Like I said, this situation happened. Where I had to make income. Like with the income that I was making at the dealership where I was working, I started off, it's funny how I got that job. But anyway, I started off as a cashier, and then I was doing express service advisor. And then from there, they're like, all right, well, we're going to put you in the warehouse. If not, you got to, it's just it was politics, like dealership politics, like it's just and so I'm like, damn, all right, cool, I'll just go in the warehouse, like parts warehouse. And so I'm doing that for a little bit. They're basically like kind of making me deliver parts, pull parts.
How long were you there?
Man, I was there. It was actually 2-3 years, but it was a really cool like place because I met like a lot of great people there, and my work ethic was like polished up a little more. Like every job I had, like looking back, it kind of like gave me like something that I'm using now.
You
like
took
something from it. So yeah, so I always tell people if you have a job, you're just getting paid to learn. Like, just look at it like that.
You can't learn anymore.
Yep. But yeah, I just I was in the parts in the back. Then they put me in the front. So I was doing like retail, wholesale, and then like for the mechanics. So I learned a lot about cars too.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so it was cool. But yeah, man, I was like, yeah, what I'm making here is not gonna. I can't afford to feed myself and pay my rent
Yeah.
or my mortgage and so I had to make some moves. It was kind of like my back was against the wall type of thing.
Yeah,
And
which
so
is honestly sometimes the only way to go to that next part. Like
yeah.
for me, I knew I wanted to do a website, digital stuff for like 10 years.
Oh really?
Yeah, I knew. Like I knew, kind of like you. Like I was always just in it. Like I always kind of knew about it. I was really good at it, and I was like, I looked at companies and I was like, what we're doing, I'm pretty sure I could do it like by myself. Like I'm 100% sure I could do it. And then I got fired from like the last agency I was at, and I was like, all right, this is probably the most. And I asked like my family members and my friends, and everybody was like, just do it. Like you'll do fine. Like
Yeah.
you'll be great. Just go for it. We got your back. My parents were like, if you need money or whatever. I was like, all right. And then within like 3 months, it was like, oh yeah, I could do this. It's like
Yeah.
not hard at all. It's much better. But yeah, sometimes I feel like you gotta get to that point, which is kind of bad because it's not a good place to be. You know?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel good being in a where do I go next? But it's the leap. That's why they call it that.
The
right?
leap of
It's like,
the leap of faith.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
where you take that leap.
Yeah, man. And it's funny that you say that. I feel like, that's got to be something that I think that's got to be a characteristic where it's like if you're employed somewhere and then you're like, man, like I'm a high performer, right? And then you have like a manager that's just you're like, yo, how did this dude get this
That's
job?
why I got fired.
Yeah, and then you're just like,
That's why I got fired.
this doesn't make sense. And I told myself, I was like, damn, I never like want to be in this situation in my life ever again.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I was like, well, this isn't the most prestigious job, but I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna make this work.
Yeah.
And that was it. I just made the jump. I called different schools up. I ended up going to this school in Acres Homes, and got my license.
How long does that take?
It takes back then it was 1,500 hours. Now they reduced it to 1,000.
Okay.
So
was it like a couple months?
yeah, just kind of they say like maybe 8-9 months, just depending on
Okay.
how
That's a while.
if you go full time or
Right.
just depending on how you kind of go about it. So if you take it serious, you can get it done quick. If not, you're there for over a year or
Yeah.
two. Some people never finish, so it's just really about you. But yeah, it's 1,500 hours now. It's 1,000, and yeah, I was just like, all right, cool. I got my license in 2013. I believe it was August, and then that's when I started kind of setting stuff in motion. I'm like, all right, so now, I'm gonna go and look for jobs or
Yeah,
for
as a barber.
barbershops. Yeah, like I'm out, but in my area, like there wasn't any job or any barbershops that. So and also as a side note, by this time, I was charging $10. That was like my rate, and then by when I got my license, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm licensed. Now I'm gonna charge 20,
Yeah.
and I was like, I might lose some people, but
Yeah.
one of my family members was like, hey, well, if you charge more, like let's say you go by 20, you might lose half the people, but you're still making the same money. I'm like, damn, you're right.
Yeah. So you open up a lot more time.
Yeah, exactly. And so I did that. I had some people that are upset, but I'm like, hey man, like
I'm trying to live here.
yeah, I'm licensed now. Like,
The days are over.
yeah. And so that started my journey. I ended up working in a salon with one of my buddies. Shout out to him. And then that was for like that was a real short lived time. And then
Why?
it was cool. It was just like I think it was just I didn't want to step on their toes because I think it was haircuts there were like $12, and I was charging 20 in my garage, and I was
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't a good fit.
I was like, damn. I was like, I was like, damn. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I don't want to step on your toes.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not kind
Throw
of.
the whole business model off.
Yeah, and so I was like, it's just not gonna work out financially. So yeah, it was cool. Like it was all love.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh no, I get it, man. Blah blah blah. We're still tight to this day. He owns his own shop now. And shout out to Christian. So yeah, I just wanted to find actually. So in the Instagram was this was when their Instagram started popping off. And that's kind of like one of the things, I caught early on. So in my garage, I was like, I'm using Instagram, right? And I'm like, didn't really know how hashtags were gonna be huge, right? But I'm like, and I'm looking for hashtags. I'm looking for barbers like on there, and you weren't really seeing the content. So I'm like, all right, let me put barber, let me put haircut, and some would show up. So if you go to my Instagram and you go all the way back, like you're gonna see like where I have my haircuts on there. Like I'm like, what do I post? Posting like stupid shit like a hat or you know what I mean, like just random. I'm like, let me but I do barber stuff, so let me start posting my barber stuff, and that's Instagram. It's awesome. But yeah, I just started posting my haircuts, hashtagging them, and I was starting to get people like hitting me up on there, like through comments. Yeah, they're like, I didn't know, like, hey, bro, where are you? I'm like, oh, I'm cutting my garage, So I already kind of had a pretty.
So you were nowhere now. You were at your garage.
I was still, yeah, like, and so, but in this, I had also spoken to a shop owner before I quit my job. And I was supposed to. It's crazy how everything works out. But yeah, in December, I was like, I was in Katy. It was a barbershop. It was a barber, and he was opening up a shop. But he's like, yeah, I'm going to be open. He was hiring. And so we had a conversation, and, there was a time frame, right, that the shop was supposed to open in. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, well, that gives me enough time. Like, let me know so I can go ahead and put in my 2 weeks. And I would check in with them, and
So this was a new shop.
This was like another shop, and so it just kept getting like delayed. I guess the that just happens, yeah. And so by this time he's like, but one of the times he's like, yeah, go ahead. He's like, I should be ready, next month, like blah blah blah. And I'm like, I took the word for it. I'm like, all right, this was like maybe January or February, maybe have like $2,000 to my name, and tell him my job, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go full time with this haircutting thing. I'm gonna just go be a barber now, and I'm gonna be gone by this date. And so long story short, it didn't. This was actually before the salon, actually, now that I remember. And so that just didn't work out. I think that place didn't end up opening till like late, like maybe midsummer.
Oh damn.
Yeah. So. Yeah, way off. So, now I'm like, I don't have a job. I have this license, but I don't have a job, and I don't have a barbershop. So I'm just looking, man. And so yeah, I actually got a DM from a shop owner out here. Actually, it's right across the street. Really? Called Barbershop Club.
Okay, I think my brother goes there.
Yeah, nice. So that's where I started. Oh. Yeah. So the owner, he was just like, yeah, man, and I'm in Katy. And this is Willowbrook. I've never been out here. So he's like, yeah, man, just come try it out. I had hit up other, I think, Bad Boys, and I was like, nah. Anyway, yeah, long story short, the owner over here convinced me to come check out his shop. And he's like, yeah, I think you're going to be a good fit. You're going to like it, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, that's far, bro. Like, this But I was like, you know what? Like, he was persistent, and I was like, all right, let me try it. Let me just go. And I did. I actually, I liked the setup. I liked the area. It was real clean. It was like one of the cleaner shops I had ever seen. So, it was different. Like I liked the vibe, and it matched me. I felt like it was cool. The guy was cool. And yeah, man. I was sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, he was a cool dude. And he's like, he would tell me like, yeah, once it, he helped me out, it was booth rent based. He's like, if you don't make it, like, I got you, we'll do like incremental.
For the 99% of us who don't know what that means.
Okay, so so in our industry, you can be there's different ways that you can work. You can be a booth rental barber, which is like let's say you have a weekly rent that's due to the owner or the shop owner, and that's regardless of like whether you're there or not, like whether you're sick, whether your dog dies, like
whether
it's due. Yeah, like you're basically like, it's like that's your landlord. You know, he provides electricity, water, and a station, right? And it's up to you, really. Like, it's not really even on the shop owner. Like, if you go into a barbershop, like a booth rent shop, as long as you have those things, you know, that's pretty much it.
The rest is on you.
Yeah, the rest is on you. So you're kind of like, you know, you're a contractor per se. You're self-employed, and yeah, you know, you ideally you want to go in and make your rent on the first day, like on a two, like, you know, or hey, if it's open, you know, 7 days a week, you know, you can make your booth rent in one day, and then the rest is profit, like 6 days. Just depending on, like, say, your work ethic. So there's that, and then there's commission based too. Like, you know, some shops might do a hybrid of both, like where it's like, all right, yeah, we'll provide everything. We have clientele already, blah blah blah, but we're gonna take 50% because we're providing you with these things. So it's kind of like how you look at it. Some people are like, oh, you're taking half my money, but you know, in reality, like, are they really taking half your money, or are they giving you half of their business and their profits?
Yeah, they're providing. If they're providing the clientele, it's a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
marketing, everything. You know what I mean? Supplies. So
the brand.
The brand.
If it's a good brand, if it's a good name, reputation, all that.
Right, and then you have like your sports clips, which are like hourly, which they don't care. Like, it's, you get maybe $10-12 an hour, but you're doing 3 or 4 heads every hour. You're cutting like really fast. So it's a guaranteed check, but yeah, you're just like, again, it kind of goes back to the brand. Like, it's a good place to kind of start. It's a good place to start, like, to get repetitions in, and people know that you're gonna go and get a jacked up haircut at Great Clips or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, if you really just want to get like volume and to get good, I think that's a great place to start, and you have like a steady income.
Right.
So, you know, if you're a barber and you're kind of like, you know, don't really go and try and look for the coolest shop that you can find or this and that. I mean, hey man, be humble and start, you know, like somewhere. The garage, yeah, just get the repetitions and get the experience. That's the only way that and plus, like, you know, there's structure already there in place, so you get to learn structure and work ethic, like, you know. So I don't really knock those places, like, you know, shout out to them.
There's a purpose.
Everything has
there's a customer for it, there's a barber for it, there's a price for it.
Yeah.
So it scales with whoever you go, I'm sure.
Yeah, so that's those are kind of like 3 different ways that you can get paid in this industry.
So at Barber Social Club, you were doing
booth rent.
Yeah. So you were, in the sense, you were already your own business there.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah. So I went from like a steady paycheck, you know, salary and hourly and commission or whatever at the dealership, to like, oh shit, now I gotta pay to work. Like, so I'm like,
it's hilarious, right?
Yeah, I'm like, damn. But I was like, you know what? I have my little clientele, like, you
which
know.
is crazy because you're in Katy.
Yeah.
So where did they drive up here?
Yeah.
All right.
Dude,
that's a drive.
Man, I don't know.
That's not an easy like sell.
It's not.
Like, I'm still cutting, but I'm about 30-45 minutes away from you.
And it's $5 more.
Yeah.
But nah, man, it's just, dude, like, I think like, my clientele is really dope, man. A lot of them are my friends, and they're really supportive. So I think it's really important to have like that network of support of like your friends too, because you gotta start somewhere. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I remember, I'm like, damn, how am I gonna do it? And it was crazy because I remember sitting in that barbershop, man, for days. Like, I would see people come in. It was just, I was the second hire. And
so it was new when you went?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was brand new. Like, the shop had like no like history, no background. I was literally the second hire, or the first hire.
Oh wow.
And so I'm like, cool, man, like, this is really cool. Like, it was perfect. So I was like, you know, I was very ambitious, overly ambitious. I'm like, I'm gonna get it. But yeah, I would sit there and people would walk in. They were all like, I get all excited. I get up and then, you know, I'm here for the owner. I'm here for the owner. Every single one. I'm just watching them like all day. I'm like, damn. But, you know, like I said, I had my people that, you know, they'd come out, you know, get their hair cut. And so I just told myself, like, hey, I just have to hit this number and I'll be fine, you know? And so the owner, he was like, you know, if you need help with the rent, like, he probably helped me out maybe like the first couple of weeks, but after that I was like, all right, cool, like, I got this now, like, boom, like, I'm on my own. I don't need the help, like, thank you. But yeah, I would when I was there, I would walk across the street to Willowbrook Mall. Like I would write my name on these like business cards. Yeah, like these like blanks, and they had the prices in the back with the logo and the name. And so yeah, I would just write my name, Miguel Cruz, handwritten with my telephone number, and I would take this stack, and I would go to Lids. I'd go everywhere, bro, like in the mall, and I would walk into like stores that I think my ideal clientele would kind of be at. And I would just ask her, hey, I'm a barber. I work across the street. We just opened.
Out there slinging
Yeah,
business cards.
bro.
Nice.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I would do that. I would walk around like I'd see somebody. Hey, man, I'm a barber. I'm pretty sure you already have one that you go to. If you can't make it, or if that barber for whatever reason can't make it one day or he's too busy, here, check me out, man.
Nice.
And so I think that's still like the best way to do it because it just has that personal touch behind it. Like it's not digital. It's not It's like you have like interaction, and it's like.
And I would have to imagine not many people do that. Like there's not a lot of barbers that would go out and pass.
Yeah. And that's just like like it's free.
And the cool thing about that is that you are not. It's not like you're not asking people to switch their electricity plan. You're not asking them to buy life insurance. You're asking them what they already get.
Mm-hmm.
That's something they get all the time. Like I don't see that being
intrusive.
It's not a big ass. It's like I cut hair. If you need your haircut, I got you.
Yeah, and
thanks.
And it helps just being a good person, like having a good personality. Like, hey, well, now like obviously being dressed like nice. Not
you're dressed
just
appropriately.
Yeah, like smile, shake the hand, like and just offer what you got. That's it. And hey, they whether they throw it away or not, some they might throw it away. Okay, cool. Like it's not gonna hurt my feelings.
Right.
Yeah, man, that's one of the things I would do. I would go to every gas station like in a 5-mile radius, every one. I would like ask the guys in the front, hey guy, like I have these cards. Do you mind if I put like a little stack? I'd leave like 5 or 10 cards right there, boom, in every gas station, because everybody goes to gas stations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so smoothie shops, like there was a Pump Nutrition. Shout out to them. They're always real cool. Yeah. I would go there. I would like get cool with the owners and let them know like what I do and can I leave my cards here.
Would you get clientele from that?
Man, I mean, it's kind of hard to gauge, but yeah, I mean, I would say, like overall, yes, yeah, no,
like
yeah,
the whole concept.
The whole concept, yeah, definitely for sure, man. And even if not, like people are gonna hear about it, they're gonna see it, so it's like
it's another touch point.
Yeah, just
okay, I saw the business card. There's the actual place.
Yeah. And it's right off 249, so they see the mustache, the logo. So it was all just real cool, man. Like, that's just instead of waiting for the walk-ins to come in, like, no, bro.
About that. Like, you're just standing there, like there's like literally a million things you could be doing to try to get more.
Yeah, you got to be proactive, and I'm posting, I'm taking pictures. I have all my friends were super like supportive of me for everything I did. So I'm like, hey, I made this flyer. Can you share it on your Instagram? Like before stories were even a thing.
Oh, that's right.
Like I would text them like a flyer for the shop, and
so they would have to post it.
Yeah, they would have to post it, and they would do it. And I'm like, yo, that's love. Like,
super.
Shout out to y'all, man.
Yeah.
So you need friends, like, we don't need. You get what I'm saying? You need, yeah.
Need them.
Yeah.
Definitely need them. I mean, most of my customers are literally word of mouth referrals.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, Jess told you about me. And it's very rare that I get like a complete stranger. And if it is, it's because they heard of me somewhere. Like, oh, we use this guy. Like, it's still the same thing.
I gotta ask. So like, it's kind of like so you do like it's kind of like an Inception thing. Like you do advertising for advertise. Yeah. Like how does that work?
So I think what's different about advertising is that it's relationship based. Like it's huge on relationship, where you're not hiring a service. You are like you're buying a service, which is a website and marketing, but in a sense, it's like you're buying a like consultant. Like what we speak of, like you didn't just pay and it's over.
Yeah.
It's like, hey Caesar, what do you think about getting this flag at the gym?
Right.
So like that, in that regard, I feel like it's different. We really don't, because I tried it, and what you end up getting is a lot of, in my experience, is like a lot of like they don't fit our mold. Like it's more quick, make stuff work, put us number one on Google immediately. We can't do that.
Right.
Like we have to work with people who understand. Like okay, with this amount of money that we have, I tell them, okay, here's what we can do. Here's the options. If you're cool with that, then we can work together. If not, then we can't make magic happen with with not we need tools. Is that your question? Like
Yeah, you
as a
just kind of.
advertising agency, we don't really advertise.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, because I was wondering. I was like, well, how does that work? If you do SEO and advertising, like then because what one thing, I was like when I was looking. So before I actually got to you, I was hitting up different SEO companies,
Yeah.
and I'm searching them, and then I'm like, kind of had this like moment where I'm telling my girlfriend, I'm like, man, like, they could be using SEO to get to the top. Now I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like if they're, because then I'm reading the reviews and then I know about like keywords and
Yeah.
stuff, and I'm like a lot of those reviews seem fake. So I'm like, do I trust this?
That's
this?
the thing too, right? Like if they know if a company knows, not us, if a company knows how to game it, then most likely it's gonna be gamed. Not in a bad way, but like
Yeah.
you could say all the right things, and it might not be the result you want.
So I was just kind of like, man, should I trust this company? And then I'm like, well, then I would find one that I like. Then I'm like, but then they're not ranking. So I'm like, so what the hell? Like, so I was kind of like, it was just like this little like.
Yeah, it's
like a just a dark. I don't know. I'm
it's
like
a weird scenario. I see what you're saying.
So, but anyway, word of mouth ultimately was like what. I reached out to Jessica. I'm like, hey, do you used to work in this stuff?
Yeah.
Like, do you know anybody that's tried and true?
Yeah.
Ultimately, I feel like that's gonna be what I'm gonna go for. Like, if I'm looking for a service, I'm gonna like, hey, have you tried it? Is it good? If it's a restaurant, like, mainly it's word of mouth, man. So yeah, I guess you're right. I reached out to her and I was like, she's like, yes, hit up my boy Caesar. He's really great. Blah blah blah. Here's his number. I'll tell him that you're calling him. And so I did, and our first interaction was like really, really positive. It was just a real.
I was also surprised because I was like a barbershop. I don't know. I don't know. Like, is it a shop? Is it a guy? Is it something like? Because they have come by before, like barbers.
Yeah.
With like unreasonable expectations, like unreasonable with like no money, which is okay, but it has to match. Like if you have $100, then you have to expect $100 results.
Right.
And any version of that. So I was like, all right, well it's Jess, right? And vice versa, right? Like it vouches both ways. Like it vouches for the client, but also vouches for the service provider. But yeah.
So what would you say? Like, okay, yeah, you said that was your interaction with other people, but like what was this something like I already kind of had like something to work with, like.
You sounded like you knew and cared what you were talking about. That was it.
Okay.
Like I didn't really. It's not really about like what you have. I guess it's not really that. It's like, okay, does this person have an idea of where they want to go?
Right.
If the answer is yes, then okay. Because what's scary too is like not scary. Scary in a good way. Like you can meet somebody like yourself that is at 0, but you talk to them and you're like, that guy's gonna get to 100.
Right.
Because they have the attributes, the curiosity, the just like the grit to like keep moving forward. Whereas then there's some people who just say, this is what I want and I want it for this amount.
Right.
For $500, this is what I want to happen. Without any of the, and you speak to people like they'll say something like, yeah, I'm not really sure what I want to offer. I don't have a building yet, and I actually really don't know what to name my business, but this is what I want.
Right.
And it's like, dude, you have like 80 steps before you come. Like, figure that stuff out first.
Yeah.
We don't do that. Like, or people will come and ask me like, how do I set up my business? Like, yeah, perfect. We can talk about that, but like, that's not what we do.
You're not
like,
a consultant.
I'm not gonna help you set up your LLC. Like, you're far.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a friend or whatever, like that's a different version of it.
Right.
But stuff like that, like, oh, hey, Caesar, we need, our main concern is our emails. Can you manage our emails? No. No, because that's different. But yeah, that is the whole word of mouth thing, I think. Especially like for me, it's like when I know it's a word of mouth referral, it's like it's half sold already. It's like, oh, okay, well they already know.
They already know.
Let me just make sure we're
tie up the loose ends. Yep.
Cool. So you're at Social Barber Club, and you're there for.
I'm there for 2 years. So yeah, I just, that's kind of what I started doing is start really heavily promoting myself there, and that's where I kind of I grew. You know, and I told him, but I set like realistic expectations. I set goals for myself. I was like, all right, I got to be making X amount to pay this. It was real cool, and then I had like a lot of bad debt that I accrued like while I was at the last, with the dealership.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta, cause and I even when I started there, I told the owner, I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna be transparent with you. I want to be a shop owner one day and have my own shop. So, I will work as hard as I can for you for however long it takes.
Yeah.
But just know, like I'm not gonna step on your toes. Like I'm here to learn and here to grow with you and put in the work. But just I do want to be transparent.
Yeah.
And let you know, like that's
even that foresight, that's great.
Yeah. So so I gave myself like a time frame, money that I wanted to save, money that I had to save, and kind of like a little game plan,
Yeah.
I wanted to be there as long as I could and learn as much as I didn't want to like move around and shop.
Right.
That's one thing I knew I didn't want to do was just move like locations. And so, but things just kind of happened, and long story short, I was there for 2 years, shorter than what I expected, and ended up moving down the street to another spot, the Barber's Chair. Shout out to Adrian. He opened up that spot, and it happens a lot like in the industry, like so we were there for another 2 years. I was there for another 2 years. Again, set more goals, and I was like, all right, cool, like and but throughout this. At that time, I think in 2016, I had already made the motion to like, I went in and bought these chairs, like these really expensive like chairs from California.
Yeah.
Like they're old, like 50s, vintage,
wow.
like reupholstered, refurbished, like everything, right? I was like, I'd be the first, cause I was like, damn, like things aren't working out, like things really weren't going great, like they were going great, financially, but there's other aspects, right? And so. I just knew I had to like make a jump. I didn't really want to go to another shop, luckily, like I could say like, the shop I did go to, like it was just everything happened perfect. Like, I migrated over to another spot, and that kind of bought me a little bit more time. But if that happened, like, my thing was like, oh, I'm gonna just go ahead and just open up now. Like, I'm gonna just jump. But it didn't work out that way. It did not work out that way. And even when I did go to the next spot, I told, that shop owner, hey, you got your own spot. Excuse me,
man. He's ghost, man. I'm telling you.
So I got, I was transparent. Had a conversation. I'm like, hey, man, I'm just gonna go ahead and I have the same intentions as you. I want to get my own spot, but just it's my cards that I'm dealt, like, just they're not working out, man. So, if it's cool with you, like, I'd, like to, go along with you and, work for you.
Yeah.
And so, but, same thing, same conversation. I'm going to eventually do my own thing. So, but as long as I'm there, like, yo, you got me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, it was cool, transparent. It was great.
All right. So Social Club, 2 years. Moved to another place for a year or two. Then, what was the final move before you started fully on? Because were you doing a barber rental or whatever?
Yeah, same thing, same concept. This is the exact same concept. So yeah, I already had bought my chairs. So I had these chairs.
So you had more excessive, like more than just one chair.
I had 8
that you kept somewhere.
Yeah, it was a whole process. I kept them in my dad's garage, and believe it or not, man, it was crazy because it took a long, like, so it was crazy because I had this expectation that I sought these chairs out, and I was given like an expectation time frame of like 6 months or something like that, and it actually ended up taking like almost a year, right? I'm like, damn. Well, now I don't have chairs, I don't have anything, man, and so but. Long story short, I got the chairs like a year later. They came in. They were shipped out to me.
So they took a year to come in.
Yeah, because you basically like have to. You can't you have to source these parts. Like they're not,
Okay.
they don't make them
It's
anymore.
not
It's
like
not
you just buy it
manufactured.
off the shelf.
So yeah, so I think that's kind of what it happened is like it just the whole thing, putting them together and redo. It's a whole process. So I think it just I was probably oversold and underdelivered maybe, but it's cool. It worked out. And when I got the chairs, they were all broken. The shipping company had like took a forklift and just like
Wow.
every single one had one piece of damage. But again, another setback. I was like, damn it, I'm never gonna like get up and going.
So did you have to like fix them?
Yeah,
Like fix them?
they sat. I mean, they sat because I did, like I by this time I think I had already been a couple months in at the second shop, and I'm still looking for a location, like actively just looking,
For you.
looking for me. Yeah, and
How's that process?
it was sucked, man. Like it was one of my clients was a commercial real estate broker. Shout out to him, and he was real helpful, man. He's actually one of the guys that I would pick his brain a lot. Very like successful person, and he always had like a lot of good game, man. Very motivational, very positive. So it was very influential in my life, and so just like you meet people that you're like, yo, like I didn't know it was possible till you met somebody, right? And they kind of show you like
Yeah, yeah.
otherwise. So that's kind of yeah. Anyway, so expanding my way of thinking, my mindset, and so anyway, yeah. For a long time, like I was probably looking and looking, and then it got to the point, man, where I was just like, you know what, like I'm not gonna. I was like, I would meet with like these companies, and then they just kind of would like. I was 26, 27, I think, and I don't think they would take me serious. You know what I mean? Kid, barbershop, like young guy, probably don't know what he's doing. But yeah, negotiations would always not really work out, and I remember like this he would tell me like, man, he's like sometimes the best deal is the one that you walk away from. Like we would always like try to work something out and it wouldn't work out, and that's what he would always tell me. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'll just keep that in mind. You know, but yeah, I got to the point where like I didn't want to really do it no more. I was just like, I'm burned out. Like I'm tired. I'm working like crazy. These chairs are fucked up in my dad's garage. Like I still have to fix them. Um,
It's a lot.
it's a lot. Yeah, I was just you kind of reach that burnout. You're like, fuck, like I want to quit. Like I'm just gonna cut hair here and I'm gonna chill.
Yeah.
And but the thing that was like, so, well, I already spent the money. They're already there. Like I gotta keep going. And one day I was just driving to the gym and I happened to see this location. I saw a sign. It just caught my eye, and I walked or I drove up to it, not thinking much of it. 'Cause, I mean, again, like by this time I had already kind of gave up a little bit. I was like I wasn't proactively or aggressively looking, and it just um, you know it caught my eye, and I looked at it. I went and checked it out. I remember took videos of it. I sent it to my friend,
Commercials.
commercial estate guy, and he's like cool. Checked it out. He's like, we'll go look at it. It looks like it's a good location. You're in the middle of a ton of neighborhoods, schools. Because I ideally wanted a location like off of I-10 or like some freeway access,
Yeah.
right? Some visibility. But he was like, he's like, this is pretty good because you're in a community, like.
Mm.
So for what you do, like, you don't really need that, like.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, whatever. And yeah, I had all my ducks in a row.
Finally, they lined up.
Yeah, uh, I talked to the landlords. What was cool was like these weren't big corporations.
Mm.
It was like two guys, two business partners,
Yeah.
and I actually met with the owner, right? Not like a representative or like an agent.
The
Cause
guy
those
that owns the
guys,
land.
yeah, cause these guys can come off like douchebags, bro. Like straight
Yeah.
up. They're
You don't get a good
real
vibe.
pretentious. Yeah, like condescending sometimes. And I mean, I'm not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, this guy was like real cool. And what was crazy was like, I had like my income like from the previous years. I had my clientele list. I had like pictures of my chair. I didn't have a formal business plan written down or anything like that, but I was like, yo, like these are the hard facts. This is the money. This is my clientele list. Um, he's my client. You know, he
Yeah.
vouches for me. Um, and they were they were they were cool, man. We opened up negotiations. It took about a month. And you know, one of the cool things was that he's the landlord, the owner was like, yeah, he's like, man, you know what? He's like, you're the third barber that has came to me for this location. And I'm like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. The last two, the last two guys, they wanted to do something similar. Because he asked me, he's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, man, just straight haircuts, hot towel shaves, beard trims. We're just gonna be a barber shop.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do.
So you
Like,
knew.
yeah, like
But
the
not a formal
vibe.
business plan, but you had an
Yeah, I
idea.
was like, I had a vision. I was
Yeah.
like, these are my chairs. I'm going for like a, high end, just a real clean build. Just real clean barbershop. And he's like, all right, cool. So yeah, he told me, he's like, but yeah, the last two guys, they were kind of all over the place. Like it was going to be like a shop slash tattoo shop slash
Wow.
sneaker shop slash clothing. Like,
Yeah.
but then it wasn't. Yeah, it was just kind of like a lot going on. I guess that maybe that kind of like,
No, exactly.
yeah.
Like same. What I was just saying earlier. Like when you talk to certain people, it's like, I don't know. Like that's
Mm.
too much going on. Like it doesn't sound. It's ambitious, but it's a little bit too all over the place. Like
Yeah. And so I was like, yeah. And a month later, this one I didn't tell a single soul because every other one I'm telling her like, oh yeah, I'm like, man, I'm working on getting this da da da. But
yeah.
I was like, you know what? I got kind of like superstitious. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna tell anybody shit about this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just do it.
Nice.
And yeah, like it was just kind of happening in the background. Nobody knew a thing until the day that like it was like even my girlfriend, she
Oh.
was so pissed.
So until the signature was done.
Till the signature was done and I had the key in my hand, like the physical key
Yeah.
and all the down payment, everything,
Yeah.
like it was set in stone. Like that's whenever
How'd you feel about that? That moment.
man, it was euphoric. I don't know. It was like, yo, like this, it's finally going my way. And what was cool was like the building had the layout like perfect.
Like what you envisioned.
Yeah, I was like, yo, this is the high ceilings, it had carpet. It used to be an old like dress shop, like
Okay.
a bridal shower shop or something like that. But it was it was just I was like, yo, with my vision, I'm like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it work. Like this is perfect. Boom. And which actually ended up saving me a lot of money on the build out. I mean, the build out was expensive, but it was still like, um, it helped me out a lot. Like I was like, yo, I'd have to tear down any walls or do too much crazy. It was literally just like furnishing it, polishing, removing carpet, polishing the floors.
Yeah, the place is nice, by the way.
Oh, thank
From
you.
what I see on Instagram and the website, obviously, I'm like that place is like really nice and clean.
Appreciate
From
it.
what I can tell,
Yeah, just kind of wanted to go for like
very bright.
yeah.
The lights are like this.
Yeah, I wanted to. I like I said, I worked in shops where I'm like, man, as a barber, like lighting is like very important.
Mhm.
So what I noticed, and even in my garage, like remember the walls were white, and I painted everything blue, and I lost all my lighting. Like I feel like the dark colors absorb the light.
Yeah.
They absorb the light, and so you're not getting that reflection. So I was like, man, that's one thing that I'm gonna have. My walls are gonna be white.
So you did that unintentionally. You made your garage ones blue, and then you were like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, damn. I was like, now I can't see shit. Like, now the shadows and I can't fade. Damn. But I learned that. I was like, I was observing. I was
Good
like,
thing you learned at the garage and not
mm-hmm.
at the place.
Yeah, straight up. So I was like, because you want to be functional, man. So yeah, I was like, yeah, I gotta have like white walls because it's gonna reflect the most light, and it's just gonna help. So yeah, so I was going for that, just real clean and real like I think around this time everybody was doing like, one thing I've always kind of told myself is like, what everybody else is doing, like go the other way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's where it's like go against the grain. That's
Yeah.
kind of where that comes from. And so it's like, yeah, if you see everybody's doing like a red theme, black and red, or like I don't know, man. There was just like a lot of a lot of stuff out there, like a lot of different themes, and or like real art, like I don't know, like just yeah, I don't know, yeah. Um, and I wanted to kind of stand out and be different, but then be clean, like be you want to kind of just think like long term.
Right.
You don't want this to be a fad or a trend, and black and white is pretty classic, which it kind of it worked out too because the guy that built my church, he's like, well, so we're gonna go like a murdered out all flat black, but I'm like, nah, like that's gonna play out, like let's just keep it like white base with the black upholstery, and if I need to sell them, plan B, like if it doesn't work out, I can, everybody's gonna want a black and white chair, like it's not specialized or custom, boom. So I kind of that helped out. So we were just thinking like classic, long term, and yeah, so that kind of played. I was like, man, and the thing was like, I also knew I was like, if I want to stand out, I gotta have like some nice chairs, and those chairs were like really nice, bro. Like, man, I fell in love with them. So I was like, I don't care like if my build out is really plain and cheap. I was like, as long as I have these like badass chairs in there, bro, like they're conversation pieces.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so,
so that was like the most important part to you.
To me, yeah.
If you have nothing else, have the chair.
Have the chairs. That's it. And I dropped like 30 grand on those.
Oh.
It was like 8 chairs. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, yeah, screw it, And I remember telling my mom, I was like, Mom, she's like, why are you spending that much money on chairs? I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I'm trying to charge like $35.
Yeah.
This was like 20, I don't know, whatever. The prices weren't really, I mean, they were kind of hitting around there at that time. But then I was like, you gotta understand, like, if I'm gonna offer a service and I want to charge a premium rate, I gotta have premium, like, atmosphere. She was more like, just start small and get by and then scale up. And I'm like, nah, I'm gonna just like I'm gonna go big. Like, yeah, I'm gonna just, like.
You already went through a lot.
Yeah.
Like you had gone to the different places. Like.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, let's just go big, go big or go home. Like, and yeah. So I was like, I don't want to be charging crazy prices and then we have, these boo-boo chairs that break down or they're creaking or, not given that these chairs they do require maintenance, but man, like the time is like an testament to like they're durable, like they're from the 20s, 50s, like they're still here, turning, so yeah, I was just like I wanted to provide value, an atmosphere of value, and obviously if you're spending money, like you want to sit in quality, and then that kind of from there I was like, all right, well now the atmosphere has to match the chairs, and that's kind of where I didn't know exactly what I wanted, but I know what I didn't want. Mm-hmm. And so the process of even the name, like I didn't even have a name.
I was going to ask you, where did the name come from?
The name, so I had like a list of like maybe 100 plus names, and I would just list them down. It was just, it was just a name that was thrown in the mix, right? Like I'm over here, actually it was going to be Paradigm Barbershop because before I went and got a DBA for it. And because I had read this this little excerpt from, I don't know what it was, but it was basically like about a paradigm shift. I kind of learned what that was. It was like where you think a certain way and then something happens, an event. It was a story about a guy. He was on a train. I don't know if you ever heard this story. He's on a train. His kids are like a subway train, and it's just somebody sitting down, and he has like 2 kids. They don't shut up. They're just running amok, right? Like going crazy, and the dad's just sitting there like not saying a word. He's just quiet. And so then like they're one, the person's getting irritated, like, wondering why aren't you controlling your kids? Like, what's going on? They're being really annoying and obnoxious, blah, blah, blah. So finally, like the person gets fed up and they're like, hey, can you like tell something to your kids? And then he like looks up, he's like, oh, he kind of snaps out of it. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I apologize. He's like, the kids just lost their mother in the hospital. Like, we were just coming back, and I don't know how to tell them. I'm trying to process like how to tell them, like.
Oh wow.
And so then like the person instantly feels like a jerk. So you're like, so then that kind of like try to explain like that's what a paradigm shift is. And I was like, okay, cool. Like you know, shit happens in life where like
Completely changes the
Yeah, it just
perspective.
completely changes your perspective in life, and you're like, yo. So I thought that was real cool. But then I was like, but you know what? Like, it's too,
Too
yeah,
deep.
too deep. Like, it's not marketable. I'm like,
Yeah.
throw it in the back burner. And so then, I just kind of went
But
through.
that was up there.
It was up there. It was like cool. Like, yeah, like, but yeah. Anyway, it was that. It was like, man, just a bunch of like. But then another thing was like, man, there's so many names that every name that you could think of was probably already taken out there, like barbershops.
For sure. Because that's
it's tough.
It's
like
common.
if you ever try to name your business, like you gotta Google it and make sure it's not in the same city. I don't know how many like fade, king fades and this and that. Like there isn't, but the name is, excuse me. The name is really important because it's like, yo, it's a name. Like you have a name, right? Like
it's a title.
So, and you want to be able to market it for marketing purposes, like, because if I included fade in there, I'm like, it's gonna just, you're gonna alienate like the people who don't do fades. They might just do like long business scissor cuts. So you don't want to like alienate clientele. You're limiting yourself. And so I didn't want to do that. Because you want to like kind of have like an ideal customer in mind or a clientele base.
As a side note, Dunkin' Donuts?
Right.
That's what they did. So they were Dunkin' Donuts forever, but they rebranded to Dunkin' because they're not trying to just be a donut place anymore. They want to sell coffee because they make way more money off of coffee. It requires way less labor. And look at Starbucks. They sell mainly coffee.
I didn't know that because
if you drive by, you'll see it's just Dunkin'. Everything is just Dunkin', not Dunkin' Donuts.
It's funny that you brought that up because my girl was like, yeah, did you know it was just Dunkin' now? And I'm like, when did they do that? Like, it's funny that you brought that up because I love their coffee, bro.
Do you?
Yes.
Dude, what do you get? Because I've gone twice and I'm like missing. I'm building it myself though.
It depends. Like, I might do like a vanilla iced coffee with like some cream and
That's exactly what I got.
Yeah, or I'll just do like their cold brew nitro with the sweet foam.
Sweet foam.
Yeah, sweet foam on top. So just try to like keep the sugar out. Then I'll just do that. But yeah, I mean, I like their coffee. I like it better than, I wouldn't say like, okay, I wouldn't say I love it, but it's better than Starbucks.
Yeah, I can say Starbucks feels pretty like commercial. I don't know, but it's like kind of like
Yeah.
But I like Dunkin's menu. Like I like the way they have it laid out when I drive through. I've been twice.
Yeah.
And it like clearly says, iced hot. Then here's all the shots you can put.
Small, medium, large.
Yeah. Even though they're, because I feel like Starbucks doesn't do that at all. They give you like a couple options of their like the crafty ones.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I don't. It's too complicated for me.
Yeah.
Pick a couple things. But anyways, yeah, that goes back to the name. Like what you don't want to limit yourself.
Yeah, and it just I was like, so my prerequisites, my requirements were like, it has to last at least a decade and be relevant, right? And it has to be able to be printed on like a shirt and look cool, right?
Yeah.
Like, it has to be eye catching.
Yeah.
It has to roll off your tongue, right? Like you say it like, it's very easy to remember, and it provokes thought. Like you're like, not too like trying too hard, but just like,
not
like,
paradigm shift.
Yeah, nah, yeah. Because then you're like, what the hell? But I was like, yeah, like and really like Grayscale's like from black to white. Like when you look at the scale, it goes, yeah, it's a fade, and that's what we do. So it's another way of saying,
okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So I was like, yeah, you know what, like, but I pitched that name to like, I pitched it to people, and they were like, yeah, nah, it just doesn't sound like a barbershop. It just doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? But like, but then again, it kind of goes to like, they don't have the vision, right?
Yeah. They're not gonna know.
They're not gonna know. Yeah. So then it got put back in the back burner again, and I had one of my homeboys, David, man, shout out to him. I would go back and forth with him a lot, like on some of these things too. And one day, like, it was crunch time. I had already signed the lease. The build out was happening. I didn't have a name, and I started reaching out to like, different designers, like, and yeah, that process was crazy too, because you're like, you got to find the right like person. There's a fit out there for everybody. Everything is a fit, so everybody provides different services, and so I'm like going through Instagram, like, man, just all day, bro.
Information overload. Like, information.
So I'm reaching out to people, man. Some of them were jerks, some of them were cool. One guy specifically, his name is Dave, and he's out of Ohio. Shout out to him, man. He was one of the people I reached out to, and that dude's work ethic impressed me because out of everybody was just real like, and I think this guy's in a testament to like, if you gotta follow up.
Mm-hmm.
He was following up with me, man. Like I told him, I was like, hey, I'm interested in, logo. What's your process? That he's like, oh, he gave me a price list, very informative, real cool. I was like, I don't have the name yet, but I'm gonna get back to you. I'm working on it right now. I don't have a name. I was like, but I do have the building. This is, where I'm at. This is what it's looking like. And so he was like, all right, cool. And every couple of days or so, he would follow up like, hey, man, he would check up on me. He's like, how are you doing? How's everything? Have you, and it was just like, yeah, it was like real cool. Like, I don't have it yet, bro, but I'm working on it. And he's like, all right, cool, man. Well, let me know. And, I was still looking, but I was like, I think this is gonna be my guy because I like his work, and I like that he cares, bro. Yeah, like he's super on top of it, man. And man, like it was just cool how everything happened. But yeah, like I finally came up with the name, and it was because one day, like boy, we'll send each other memes or like shoes and stuff, and so there was a pair of shoes that they were Vapor Maxes. And the name of the Vapor Maxes was Grayscale. And my homeboy was like, look, at the time I was looking for some too, right? And he's like, bro, look at the name. And I'm like, yo, like, but it was one of the names I liked. It's just, I was like, when I tested it out, like it didn't get great feedback. But I'm like, man, like, screw it. I'm gonna just, this is a sign, bro. And so, I just ran with that. I was like, this is gonna have to work, man. I don't have a choice. We're, crunch time. Yeah, and it's. I was like, it's kind of perfect because this is black and white. Like, this is it. Like, it matches everything. Like,
the chair, the aesthetic, the brand, the logo.
And so, and then we went to work on a logo, and man, like, I sent Dave like a bunch of like pictures and kind of aesthetics, and man, that dude just like killed it. Like, we probably had, like, a lot of revisions, but all in all, like, I was super happy. Like, I couldn't even, like, fathom, like, coming up with something like that on my own. So, he just nailed it.
Whatever that was, whatever that vision you had that you didn't know you wanted,
he
found it.
He found it, and, I was just like, that's cool. So, yeah, man, so that happened, and then, the rest was kind of history. Like, after that,
So when was this? When did you open?
2018, summer 2018. I got the keys in April. I got the keys April of 2018, and then I had like 3 months to build out and get open. Yeah, I was moving.
I feel like that's fast because you bought it like, or not bought it when you signed the lease and stuff. It was not ready for operation at all.
Nah, man. But again, family and friends like came in the clutch. They just they helped me a lot. I didn't, and the other thing that was crazy was this was right after Hurricane Harvey, right?
Harvey.
Yeah, this was 2017. So there was like contractors were charging up the ass because there was so much work. The demand was high. So I remember one time one guy quoted me like $12,000 just to paint everything white. I was like, what? Man.
So who did paint it?
My uncle for $400, bro.
Dang! Shout out uncle.
Shout out Theo, bro.
I mean, you gotta find ways. Like, if you were just to agree to everything, nobody would have anything because it wouldn't. It's impossible. Yeah. You have to give and take where you can.
Yeah, we bought the buckets, and he does sheetrock and painting for a living. So everything, like, dude, everything was just like sourced through like people that I knew. Yeah. It was real cool. Like, I mean, I probably interviewed like 10 different contractors. For just different people, and this is all like while I'm working still, like keeping a full schedule. So I would, from out here from Spring Cypress, 249, I would block out like 2-3 hours in the middle of the day when I had to go meet with the contractor to see if they would be a good fit. go over there and then drive back and finish my appointments and then still go after work. So it was just like,
Yeah, that's a lot.
yeah. So that whole summer, like it was kind of just going like that. It was either before, during break, like during my lunch, like studying lunch, or after that I was doing all this. Because at the same time, I got to keep the money flow coming in.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a big hole every month.
Yeah.
You gotta meet.
There wasn't like free rent. Like,
Right.
it was like, yo, it started. Like, it was
I
already.
mean, you pay to even just sign with it.
To sign. Yeah. People don't realize, like, yo, you got to spend at least like 10 G's before you even get the key. Like, insurance.
Before you can start working on it.
First month, last month. Like, yo, it's crazy. Yeah. Like, all these things I didn't know.
So then finally, you open for business after 3 months of building. I mean, is it a good start? Is it a rocky start?
It's a good start in the sense that I was booked like 2 weeks. Like, the only time I took off was 1 week to be able to just kind of like tie up all the loose ends, right? But even that time off, I'm working. So then I go straight to like open, and then I don't tell anybody. I just start booking my appointments. So I was already booked 2 weeks out. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be over here now. This is the new address. If you can follow me, that's cool.
Did you say it was your new shop or no?
Yeah, that's to the people. Like, when it's all said and done, I was like, all right, cool. Like, now, I'm open for business over here. Da, da, da. And I was like, if you can make it, cool. If not, like, I appreciate all the support and love throughout the years. New chapter.
Right.
So yeah, I was like booked for 2 weeks solid before I even like made an announcement or anything like that.
Oh.
So that was cool. On top of that, like, people were walking in. I was by myself. I didn't have like barbers that.
Yeah, that's a whole new world, right? Like, that part you hadn't done yet.
Yeah, so I'm transitioning. I'm like an operator.
Yeah.
I'm an operator. I'm not a businessman.
Yeah.
I mean, in a sense of like small, like for my own personal, like I'm a freelancer, I guess you could say, right?
But it's different.
It's like levels to it. I'm like, damn, like I don't know shit about business. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just more of like
the name on the sign, and everything. So.
Well, actually, yeah, it was a banner. So there was setbacks with the sign too, like up the ass. It was crazy, man. There was so many setbacks with that. We had like a banner that kept falling off. I had to keep climbing the damn roof like every 3 or 4 days because the wind would like slap it down. I'd pull up in the morning and the signs just like hanging on the parking lot, just dangling. I'm like, it's just it was fun times, man.
Happen, right?
Yeah.
What so like you mentioned walk-in traffic. What was the experience with that? As far as like, did you expect that or?
I didn't.
Guess in a sense, it worked. You have walk-in.
Yeah, it worked.
As far as location.
Yeah. Actually, so it worked because I was like, man, I already had a full schedule. I didn't have any barbers, and I was by myself probably for like a month or two. Honestly, I think like 2 months I was cutting by myself.
I mean, that makes sense because like, what are you gonna do? Like, you don't even know what the inflow is gonna be.
Yeah, so I'm booked and I don't have time for walk-ins. So when people walk in, I'm like, hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm brand new here. I just opened, but I'm booked for like 2 weeks, and like
no one wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear that. So I'm like, but you always have to offer like a solution. You never just turn people down. I learned that too. Like, I think Tuna Fertitta's book too. That's a good book.
Oh, nice. I have not read that.
Just be solutions based. Like, always, because they say like, I think he talks about it in one of his books. One of the books. He's like, if somebody wants an egg or something and a muffin at 6 a.m. like, yo, like to one of their hotels, like find a way to make it happen. You know what I mean? Or offer a solution. Anyway, so that's kind of like the approach. Is like, man, nobody ever really wants to hear like no, right? But if you say like, hey man, I can't get you in right now, but there is an open, when I close at 7 p.m., I can take you then, and I'm willing to stay if you're willing to come back.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I would do. And so even on Saturdays, like I would start at 8 a.m. and then Saturdays when I would get walk-ins, and I'm cutting to like 6 or 7 p.m. Just to be able to accommodate, because you don't want to like lose people.
Right. Yeah, this is a very important time frame. Right?
Yeah, so like you have to put in the work. You have to do what you have to do. So that's why I would always do that. At least they're not gonna leave disgruntled, like you tried and they won't have a bad taste.
they understand.
They understand.
A little bit better, I would think.
Yeah, so at least you offered them like a solution, and if they didn't want to take that, then hey, you tried.
Yeah. Would people come back?
Yeah, yeah. Some would, not everybody,
Right.
but yeah. But yeah, man. So that was rough, and then I think slowly like got one barber, two barbers, three. Then the pandemic. Hold up.
You're gonna do another 2 hours.
Yeah, nah, but yeah, it's just it's crazy, man. Like just life is just crazy like that. So yeah, you get going, and then it's just always gonna be something around the corner, man. So yeah, I just knew like this was my this is my income, this is my rent, this is my home expenses. I was like, I just need to be making this to.
So even then, it was the same concept.
Yeah.
You need to know what you need to hit.
Yeah.
And then you hit it.
Yeah, you have to, bro. Like you have to know, like and I just the biggest thing was like I left when I started working as a barber. I left the clubs, the bars, the drink. I got really laser focused. I was like, I gotta get out of debt, and I gotta start saving money, and yeah, I just kind of kept that same mentality, like all money in, all money out. Like you just gotta save, and know your numbers. Yeah. Like you gotta know, like, hey man, like you gotta save for the rainy days, because I was bootstrapping it, like straight up. Like I paid everything. I think the only loans that I took out maybe in the amount would have been like 20, like roughly about $20K. To finish building out like the back area, like the restroom, just a little stuff. But everything else was just straight like.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't want to have like investors. I didn't want to have people bank. I didn't want to have partners. I wanted to do it like just solo. That way, nothing's in my way. Like just.
Yeah, you're the sole decision maker. You don't gotta bounce ideas off of anybody or get approvals. You just.
And if it fails, then it's all on me. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I approached it. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Like, why I can be a successful barber. Now let me try and scale like a barber shop.
Yeah.
And try to take the same. Obviously, it's gonna require like a different you, mm-hmm. a newer you, more improved you. So. And that's kind of what it's been the last 5 years, is just trial and error. Like even marketing is different.
Yeah.
You can market for yourself, but now you're marketing for all your barbers. Now you have like the pressure of like, okay, like they're here. There's an expectation of me now. Like
there's a reason they're there.
Yeah. So now you gotta you gotta go a little bit harder now. And so that's
how has that part been?
Man, it's been a learning experience. It's really just kind of how I can describe it. It's been stressful.
Yeah.
That's where you came in, right? Like I'm at the top you in, man, because like you could do so much, but you're capped. Like I'm cutting full time, right? That's a full time thing, and then there's like back end stuff that you have to tend to, and really, man, like. It just gets to the point where like you get burned out, man.
Yeah. I mean, you run out of time.
You start delegating and.
But so I mean that's a good while to go. You've been at the same location the whole time?
Yeah.
So I mean, at the very least, you've been able to go the 4 years with 4 or 5 years with what you were doing. Did you ever do any other kind of marketing, or was it always been word of mouth?
Just social media, location, social media. Social media is just huge.
How did you get into the Square thing?
Square through one of the barbers at the first shop I worked at. So we were writing everything down at first.
Yeah, I was wondering like, okay, so that system, like, how did you start off just phone calls and texts?
Yeah. Dude, that shit sucked.
It's impossible, right?
Yeah, because you have a book and it's like you're cutting. Let's say you're cutting all day. Like it gets to the point where like you can manage it when you're first starting out, but when it gets to the point that you start getting booked, you have like you have to write it down, and for one, somebody might call you for an appointment and they might forget because you wrote it down doesn't mean they wrote it down on their end. Mm-hmm. So now you got like the whole. People had to really remember, they have an appointment. They have to write it down or just remember.
And you can't write it down because you're cutting.
Yeah. So anyway, these texts are like just kind of like starting to pile up at the end of the day, and at the end of the day, once I'm done cutting, now I gotta go home for another 2 hours and text everybody that texts me in order. I'm like, hey, but it's kind of chaotic because
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So you're having to try to like,
One might say yes to 11. Then the other guy's like, "Do you have 11?" And you're like, "No." And then the other guy says, "Well, actually, can you do 11:30?" And then you gotta.
so you get the picture. You're like, yo, you're trying to like cram all these. You're trying to like just basically accommodate, and it's just it's like a 4, 5, 6 message exchange for each client. This doesn't work. This works. Oh my god, like I got this. Pick one. And it's just
And do the cuts roughly take around the same time for you to gauge like, okay, I can do in 30, 45 minute blocks or.
Yeah, when I first started, time is money, man. So if you're a barber, time is money. I started at like cutting. It would take me like about an hour, 50 minutes to an hour, over an hour sometimes. And the owner, he would always laugh at me because I would schedule myself out. This dude was a beast. Like I'm not gonna lie, I learned my work ethic from him, man. Shout out to him. I was like, yo, this dude's like a robot. Every 30 minutes, flawless haircuts. I'm like, yo, dude, like what the hell, I was like, well, if he could do that, like.
So in the barber world, is that? I guess it is hard because it's not that people want to move slow. It's just that it's difficult. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's if you don't have like a system down, like an approach, because everything has to be like system, yeah, methodical and systemized. Like to me, at least, like in order to be efficient. So you want efficiency. Like you gotta really, how many haircuts do you want to do in a week, and how much time do you want to allocate to that week, and how much profit do you want to make in that time frame? Like you want to, if you're in a shop, like I always tell myself, if I'm in a barbershop from 10 to 7, away from my family, away from my friends, I'm going to maximize the most that I can in those 9 hours.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the most out of it and the most money that I can. I'm not going to go in there and be on my phone and sit around. Like, bro, if I'm there to work, I'm going to work. And so that was like, I had to work from, an hour. So I would set these appointments for like 30 minutes. And dude, I was not finishing them in 30 minutes. I was taking like 45, 50 at, my fastest. So now I'm like, this was in the very beginning.
So
it gets pushed back, and then the owner's just laughing at me. But in like a friendly camaraderie, and it's just, he's like, dude, you suck. And I'm like, yeah, I know, man. I'm trying, but I had to make those appointments to put the pressure on myself to be able to. And eventually, I got him down to 30 minutes with a haircut and beard, like each appointment, and that's how I was moving, man. I was just, because again, like I have my goal set. I want to make a certain amount of income, and I'm just like, yo, I'm gonna do it, and so.
But of course, doing like a good.
Good, yeah. You don't, yeah. You want to, yeah, exactly.
Quality
exactly. It's a very like fine line. You want to be right there. You want to have a quality cut. And because at the same time, nobody wants to sit in your chair for another, whole hour.
Right.
People have things to do. So,
like you were saying,
I feel like 30 minutes to 40 minutes is a sweet spot. Some people, to them, time is money, so they don't want all this extra stuff. They just, like, I want a good cut, and I want to get back to what I got to do.
Yeah, that's definitely how I feel. Like I go, and it's just like, please, just.
What are some of your expectations? Let me ask you, like, as a on the other side, like for your barber, like what makes you want to go to your barber, or is to that barber specifically, or do you not have like a preference? Like if he's not available, whatever. Like how are you with your hair?
I'm 33. For 31 years, I didn't care.
Right.
I was like supercuts, great clips, sports clips. Whoever has an opening and is close by, I will go. I do not care. People were like, "Hey, your haircut looks messed up." I didn't care. Like I just didn't. And then I moved like to the Lower Heights, and honestly, like for the longest, I really didn't have any money, like at all. Like
right.
I always had jobs bouncing around. Haircut just wasn't in the like. If I'm gonna have money, with the limited money I have, I'm not gonna go get an expensive haircut. Like,
right. Okay.
So I was never like in that demo for like a long time, and then started making some money. Okay, let me go try this stuff out. So I, based off of my friends that went to, I go to Cutthroat.
Okay.
So one of my friends went to Cutthroat, and I saw that one is like 3 minutes from my apartment. And I was like, all right, let me go try it out. And I just went through their system. Like I pick any barber, and just sheer luck, to be honest, I landed with a guy. His name's Tito, and
Okay, I think I follow Tito. Yeah, shout
yeah,
out to him. Cool.
I saw we both follow you. And he he was just cool.
Yeah.
He's like good to talk to, quality.
Okay.
I may not know, right? To me, that's the best
Okay.
haircut I've ever gotten
Okay.
in my life.
Okay.
Because I haven't used anybody else. But props to him. Like I like it when I go. I know what to expect. It's honestly not like it doesn't take forever. I feel like it takes 30 to 40 minutes, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's close to the house. It's. I mean, I go at the worst times because I do my own thing or whatever. Like I do everything. If there's traffic, I'm not driving.
Right.
If everyone's at work, I'm driving.
Right.
If I go when the gym, I go super early, so I don't have to deal with people. Not people, but like
I get the
I don't like
cut.
stuff being too packed. So I'll go like at a weird time. But yeah, and I keep going to that because of those reasons. I guess it's pricey. I don't know, $45. Is that?
That's fair.
I feel like it's standard for what I get. I mean, one time I tried like Tony and Guy back in like high school. My parents got it for me. I was like, it's
too much.
Yeah, like I don't all scissors. I don't even.
Sweet spot. No, yeah. So you're saying like the conversation, like the person.
Dude, yeah. Like, and then what's crazy is like I know that guy. Like that guy is I don't know if he's a friend to me. I think he is. But like the whole barbershop movie experience where like you really get to know your barber. Like that is that. Like it's nuts.
Yeah, that's
like I know him. Everything about him. He knows like way too much about me. Like way too much. Like don't talk about me, dog.
It's a therapist.
Yeah, no, for real. And so we connect on he does a good job on connecting with. I can still only speak to myself, but yeah, like he has great connection.
Do you feel like that's important, like an important aspect of your experience?
I didn't know it was important.
You didn't know until
I didn't know it was important until I went because I had tried other places and I was like, whatever. But when I got to him, it was like, oh, okay. Like I honestly feel I would feel guilty if I were to go somewhere else.
Dang.
Like if I want a haircut Friday and he's not available, I'll be like, fuck it. I'll wait till Tuesday or whenever it is. I'll be like, all right. Let me hold up because I just can't, And it's also on me. I push my haircuts like really long, like 30 to 40 days.
Okay.
I don't get them every week.
Gotcha.
I'm not that worried about it, but yeah, I didn't know that connection thing. But then once I understood it, like I was like, oh, this is why people do this.
Yeah, man.
I get it now.
Yeah, it's different, man.
Yeah.
Like I
it's
think
definitely not sports clips. Sports clips, I always felt like I got gypped. I was like, man, I told them to do this, they didn't do it. Over there, kind of like what I was saying is like I can ask him like, well, what do you think about this?
Yeah, get his input.
Because I'll ask for weird stuff. He's like, man, I don't think you should do that, bro. Like I'll do it for you, but I don't think you should. I was like, you're probably right. Whereas if I go to Sports Clip and I tell them anything, they're like, sure. But yeah, that's my feedback on the whole barbershop experience.
That's good insight. Cool, man. Yeah, that's kind of like the approach I try to take is, like, hey, man, you just be a good person. I think skill is cool, but, even when I hire, like, I tell people, I'm like, Vance, I'd rather have somebody that's a great personality and is willing to learn and has crappy skills, because you can always polish skills.
That's always
polishable, but you can't fix a poor work ethic or a bad attitude with some people. So I think, and I've seen like I would say like this is when I kind of learned that lesson was whenever I consider myself a pretty great barber, right? Like pretty decent. And when I would lose clients to other barbers that their skill set wasn't like
is inferior.
Yeah, like you're like, damn, you kind of, this is early on though, like early on, you're like, you kind of take like a little ego hit. You're like, damn, is it me? Like, what you're pondering, man, a little Pablo Escobar meme, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, but you learn to just not take it personal, and you kind of learn the psychology of it is like, hey, sometimes it's really not the haircut.
No,
like you
location.
can, yeah, it's just, it could be the person just has.
Booked out.
Yeah. So many aspects of it. They could just have a better conversation or connect with
Mm-hmm.
that person better.
Yeah.
You know, some people might come to you for the sole like purpose of just catching up with you and have like like, hey, I'm gonna go. This guy's a really cool guy. I'm gonna go catch up with him and see how he's doing, and I'm gonna get a haircut out of it.
Yeah.
Cool, like
Yeah.
you
And
know.
what's nuts too, back to me, is that I've referred two of my friends who don't even live nearby. One lives nearby, one lives not close. So they use them now because I'm not the kind of guy to refer a barber. So like they're like, okay, well, my,
Right,
and actually it was because one of their barbers was like out of town.
right.
So, but you know,
There you go.
snooze you lose kind of.
Hey,
So,
but yeah, no, that's really good insight, man.
yeah. But cool, man. Well, thank you so much. I think this is almost like a 2 hour podcast, so that's pretty dope. We could probably have done four, but
Yeah, all
no,
day.
time doesn't permit it today. But man, really appreciate you coming, and
Thank you.
likewise the support and stuff like that. So, we do got a couple people watching. So if you just wanna shout out your shop or where they can find you and stuff.
Yeah, we're at 19909 Morton Road, Suite 800 in Katy, Texas. It's we do haircuts, beard trims, hot towel shaves, pretty much anything barber related. Um, we're good people. Check us out.
Nice. All right, man. Thank you so much.
All right.
Peace.